So if you're watching this video, it must mean that you are considering using SeeSaw with your students, which is awesome, so way to go. I'm going to show you how to go about setting up your own classroom on SeeSaw and how to create your teacher account, and then how to manage the settings within your classroom. After this video, I'm also going to offer some suggestions or strategies that will help you get started with using SeeSaw with your students and help you establish some ground rules and routines that are kind of necessary for making SeeSaw successful with you and your students. So once you go to the website, app.seesaw.me, it will bring you to this login page. And since you're creating your own classroom, you're going to click on I'm a Teacher. This is also the same login page that your students will go to when they want to log on. Obviously, they will pick I'm a Student, but either way, it's going to take them to the QR code that they will need to log in. But since you're setting up an account, you're going to hit I'm a Teacher, and you're going to hit Create Account since you don't already have an account. All you need to create an account is your first and last name, your email address, and to create a password. It's super quick and easy to set up an account. That's literally all that you need. So once you do set that up and you sign in, it will bring you to your home page. And since we haven't set up a class for you yet, you won't see anything on your journal and you won't see any accounts over here to the right. But you will see your name in the upper left-hand corner, and once you click on your name, you will see the option to create a new class. So that's what you want to click on. And first thing you need to do is name your class. And if you teach multiple classes, you will definitely want to label them appropriately so that you can distinguish between the different classes. And you're going to choose your grade level and click the check. So since your students are definitely signing in with either a QR code or a text code, they are not signing in with their email address and password, you are going to click the check. And then here's where you create your student account. And all you need to do to create a student account is enter a name. It can be their first name, like Bob. It can be if you use student numbers in your class, or initials. You can do initials too. Whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable with for creating your student accounts, you can do that here. If you just want to copy and paste your class list into here, it's super easy. You just need one name per line and it creates it for you. And then once you're ready, you're going to click on the check, and right away you'll see your class set up. It'll show your student accounts over here to the right, and then your journal is going to still be empty in the middle. So now I'm going to get into the settings for your class, and I'm going to show you a few settings that you definitely want to change before you use this with your students. And then I'm going to show you some settings that are just optional and there for you to personalize if you really want to. But to get to your settings for your class, you're going to click this little wrench up here, and it will bring you to class settings. Right here it says student code. If you click that, it gives you the QR code for your students, and it also gives you the text code. I would recommend using the QR code for your students to log in, only because the text code is only valid for 1 hour. After an hour, it expires and it gives you a new code. And for students who don't sign in the right way the first time, they'll have to get back to the class code again when they try to log in a second time. And just having a couple QR codes around your classroom is just the easiest way to do it. In first grade, when I used this, I printed out my QR code and I attached it to a few index cards and just had it on a ring in the classroom in case anybody signed out and they needed to get back in with a code. But the good news is when a student signs in the first time on their own device and they sign in correctly, the next time that they go to sign in, it should not ask them for a code. It should just sign them in automatically as long as they did it right the first time. So that's where you can find your student code. You can also find your student code down here where under your student account. Over here it says invite families. If you do decide to turn on family access, this is where you can see your invites. And it's very similar to inviting parents on Class Dojo, where it puts together a file that you can print out and send home, and each student has their own parent invite, so make sure you send it home according to that student. And it gives the parent instructions on how to sign up and a special code to log in. So if you want to connect parents and families, that's the way you do it. Here we have the basic class settings, which I'm just going to keep all these settings the same. You can change your class name, you can fix your grade level. If you have multiple teachers that work with your class, you can manage those teachers here. You can change your theme and the colors, or you can change your class icon. Here's where you definitely need to change the setting in order to use this correctly for your students. Since our students are not sharing devices, it automatically says that our class has shared devices, but our students are one-to-one, so you definitely want to click one-to-one in order for your students to log into their own account. That's the only way they're going to be able to do it. Otherwise, it will just bring them to a shared student account, and they won't be under their own account that you set up for them. So make sure that you click one-to-one devices before you give your students the login code, or else it's not going to work. That's the one that you definitely want to fix before using this with your class. If you would like to change your students' information, you can fix their first and last name. You can enter their first and last name and just change their display name here. You can change their icon, which I did. I went through and took a photo of each one of my students and used a photo instead of an icon. And then you can manage the parents that have signed up here. Or you can remove a student if they leave. Student likes and comments. So if you're just getting started and you don't want to get into liking and commenting with students just yet, you can turn all of these settings off and disable them. But if you would like for your students to comment on each other's posts and like each other's posts, you can turn them on. For comments, you can require approval for comments, meaning you will get an email for each comment that is posted, and you will have to go through approving that comment. I don't know if it's necessarily an email for each comment, but you will get a notification over here. I made the mistake of requiring approval last year with my first graders for each comment, and that's why you see this many notifications up here. It's a huge hassle for you to approve every single comment that a student makes, and it's frustrating for the student because once they post their comment and you're requiring an approval, they need to wait for you to approve their comment before it even shows up on the person's post. So they get frustrated that nobody can see their comments. You get frustrated that you're going through hundreds of approvals every year. So I would recommend turning that off, but I would also recommend having a long talk with your students about what's appropriate to comment and what's not appropriate to comment. I had a couple issues last year that made me realize that I kind of needed this year to establish some serious rules with my students and give them the expectations for commenting. And I'll get into that when I talk about my strategies for implementing this with your students. But if I were you, I would turn off the required approval just because it's kind of a frustration for students and a hassle for you. Obviously, you want students to see each other's work, so you would keep that on. You can require approval for new items, meaning every time a student posts to the class journal, you can require approval for that. It's still kind of a hassle. I still have mine turned off, and my students and I still established expectations for what is appropriate to post and how they should be posting and the format and everything. So I'll get into that once I talk about the tips and strategies to setting this up. I do enable item editing only because I have had students who go to post a response or an answer in a note, and they make a mistake and then they post it and then they want to go back and fix their mistake and they're not able to go back and edit. So make sure that you enable item editing just so that students can go back and fix something or add something to their post after they've posted it. Here's where you can manage your family access. I'm not really going to get into that right now because that's not an important feature that you need to know right away, but it's there. And then the other ones, class blog, I wouldn't worry about class blog just yet. Folders is just an extra feature, and then the other ones aren't very necessary for setting up your class in the beginning. But I would definitely change the student sign-in mode to one-to-one, and I would personally change the new comments requiring approval and disable that part. Those are my two big suggestions for you. So once all that is taken care of, you are ready to get your students connected. And for students, what they are going to do is they're going to go to that same website that you went to, app.seesaw.me. They are going to click on I'm a student, and then they're going to either enter the text code that you gave them, just be aware that it might expire after 60 minutes, or they are going to scan the QR code, and then it logs them in right away. They click on their name, and then they click sign in, and it will bring them to this class page where they can start posting right away. So I hope you find this helpful. I hope that you are considering using this with your students and setting up your class, and I would love to hear how it works out for you.